Welcome to a deep dive into the world of 12 Monkeys.
Oh, yeah. This is a film that really messes with your head.
It does, doesn't it? We're going to be exploring those time twists and
Yeah,
all those mind-bending questions the film throws at us.
exactly. It's not your typical time travel flick.
Not at all. So get ready to question everything you think you know about time, sanity,
Oh, absolutely.
and maybe even reality itself.
And we've got a lot to unpack here, like how the film tackles freedom of speech in a dystopian future, what it says about humanity on the brink, and how Gilliam's visual style just sucks you into this whole unsettling world.
Yeah. I mean, you can't talk about 12 Monkeys without mentioning those visuals, right? Decaying cities, that distorted technology, those close-ups that make you feel like you're right there in Cole's increasingly unstable mind.
It's like you're right there with them, descending into madness. But before we jump into all that, let's set the stage.
Right. So the year is 1995, which is a fascinating time capsule on its own right. And this sci-fi thriller throws us into a future where a deadly virus has forced humanity underground.
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak picture they paint.
It is. And our guide through this bleak landscape is James Cole, played by Bruce Willis. He's a prisoner sent back in time to prevent the catastrophe.
And can he actually change the past, or is he just, is he even sane?
Well, that's one of the big questions we'll be tackling today. We've also got Brad Pitt's wild-eyed performance as Jeffrey Goins. Talk about a character that keeps you guessing.
Absolutely. And don't forget that recurring dream of the airport shooting that keeps changing. It's like it messes with your sense of what's real and what's not.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive into those time twists first. The film really presents time as this fluid, nonlinear force. One of the most striking examples is when Cole jumps to World War I. I mean,
Right, yeah.
he ends up in a muddy trench, completely disoriented, surrounded by chaos. What do you think Gilliam's trying to say with this scene?
Well, I think it's like a visceral representation of just how disorienting and psychologically damaging time travel could be.
Right.
It's not just like hopping in a time machine and neatly arriving at your destination. He's thrown into this alien environment, stripped of all his bearings, and forced to confront this, like, the horrors of war. It really raises the question of, like, how much control can one person have over time, let alone their own destiny?
That's a great point. And that quote of control, or lack thereof, really hangs over the entire film. Cole's constantly trying to alter the past to prevent the viral outbreak, but he keeps hitting these roadblocks.
Because if I was caught in this predetermined loop, destined to repeat the same mistakes over and over.
Exactly. And that cyclical nature of time is really emphasized by Cole's recurring dream of the airport shooting, right?
Yeah.
Each time it pops up, it changes a little bit, blurring the lines between memory and reality.
It's like the film is suggesting that time itself is fluid, constantly shifting and reshaping our perceptions.
It's a really interesting concept. And that brings us to the question. Even if time is a loop, is there still room for hope? Can Cole's actions, however small, actually make a difference? The film seems to offer a glimmer of hope in the character of Dr. Catherine Raleigh.
Oh, absolutely. Raleigh is like this beacon of compassion and reason in a world that's on the verge of collapse. She's one of the few who actually believes Cole, even when everyone else dismisses him as just, a lunatic.
Right. And her journey, it's a testament to the power of human connection, even in the darkest of times.
It really is. And, she's a stark contrast to those in authority in the film. Think about that interrogation scene where Cole is just bombarded with questions, surrounded by these screens. It's this chilling visual representation of how technology can be used to manipulate and control.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to reshape his reality to fit their narrative.
Absolutely. And that theme of suppressing truth, controlling information, it really resonates, especially today.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're constantly grappling with misinformation, fake news, the power of those who control what we see and hear.
It's like 12 Monkeys was ahead of its time in a way. It forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about power and how easily truth can be manipulated.
Yeah. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Jeffrey Goins, played by Brad Pitt. He's such a charismatic but unpredictable character, advocating for animal rights, questioning the very origins of the virus. What's your take on him?
He's chaos personified.
Yeah.
He's like this force of nature that disrupts the system, even one that appears to be really tightly controlled.
Right.
And he challenges this idea of a single identifiable villain,
Yeah.
He's suggesting that maybe this virus, it's a consequence of humanity's disregard for the natural world.
That's a really interesting point.
And he also brings up this idea that madness can be both destructive and liberating.
Right.
In a world that values conformity above all else, Goins embraces his eccentricities. It's unsettling, but it's also kind of inspiring.
Yeah, I can see that.
And his unpredictable nature, it keeps us on edge the whole time. You're constantly questioning his motives, how much he's actually involved in the whole viral outbreak. Is he a brilliant madman? A prophet? Or maybe a bit of both? The film never really tells us for sure.
And that ambiguity is one of the things that makes him such a fascinating character. He forces us to confront our own assumptions about sanity and reason.
Absolutely.
But before we get too deep into the philosophical implications of Goins, I want to go back to Cole's experience with time travel. He's constantly bombarded with these fragmented memories, distorted perceptions. Gilliam really captures the disorienting and psychologically damaging effects of jumping through time. He uses those distorted camera angles, the rapid cuts, to make us feel as uneasy and off balance as Cole himself.
Oh yeah, you're right, in his head, experiencing that chaos firsthand. It's brilliant filmmaking.
Yeah, it really is. And this brings us back to that central question. Can the past truly be changed? Can Cole's actions really alter the course of events and prevent this viral outbreak?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The film masterfully plays with our perception of time, challenging that traditional linear view. It suggests that maybe the past, present, and future, they're all intertwined in ways we can't even fully grasp.
So even if time is a loop, as the film suggests, there's still a possibility for change, for intervention, for a different outcome.
I think that's what the film wants us to grapple with. It's not about simple answers, but about exploring the complexities of time and fate and the impact our choices can have.
And welcome back to our deep dive into 12 Monkeys, where we're, still trying to figure out this whole time travel thing and what it does to a person's mind.
There's a lot to process, that's for sure. We've talked about time, the suppression of truth, humanity teetering on the edge of destruction. But I want to dig into something we touched on earlier, how Gilliam uses visuals to really drive these points home.
Yeah, it's not just what they say, it's what we see, right?
Absolutely. One of the things that really struck me was that stark contrast between the future and 1990s. Yeah, it's night and day. You've got the future, this sterile, controlled environment, and then you're thrown back into the chaos of the 90s.
It's like they're two completely different worlds. That futuristic underground facility where Cole is interrogated, it's all sharp angles, cold metal, and it feels incredibly claustrophobic.
Super claustrophobic. You really get a sense of how individuality and freedom have been lost in this future world.
And it's like technology itself is used to confine and control.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the way Cole is strapped to that chair, surrounded by screens, bombarded with images and sounds. It's like they're trying to manipulate his memories and his perception.
It's almost like technology is the new prison bars,
Absolutely. And then Cole jumps back to the 1990s.
Yeah.
And there's this burst of color, texture, a real sense of life pulsing through everything.
Yeah, the streets are crowded, there's music, people are interacting. It's almost overwhelming after the sterility of the future.
Almost. But it also makes you realize what's been lost. That connection to the natural world, to human touch, to the unpredictable flow of life.
And Gilliam isn't just playing with visuals for the sake of it. It all reinforces those deeper themes. Think about the recurring imagery of cages and confinement.
You see it everywhere. Literal cages in the animal shelter, the interrogation room that feels like a cage,
Right.
the mental institution where Cole is held. He's trapped not just by time, but by these systems of control that try to define and limit him.
Yeah. It speaks to Cole's struggle for agency, his fight against being labeled insane for speaking truth. Even the way Gilliam uses close-ups.
Oh, those close-ups. Especially on Cole's face. They pull you right into his psychological state. You see the fear, the confusion, the desperation growing in his eyes. It's like you're experiencing the world through his fractured perception.
Exactly. It's brilliant. You're not just watching Cole, you're feeling what he's feeling.
But even with all the darkness and chaos, there are these moments of beauty and hope woven throughout the film. Like that scene where Cole and Rayleigh dance in the abandoned theater.
Oh, that's a beautiful scene.
It's this brief respite from the uncertainty, a moment of genuine connection amidst the despair.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that even when everything's falling apart, beauty and joy can still exist. It's a testament to that human spirit, to find meaning even in the darkest places.
And it speaks to the film's exploration of duality. You have the chaos and control, sanity and madness, despair and hope. It's all intertwined, constantly pushing against each other.
And that's what makes 12 Monkeys so compelling. It's not black and white. It's full of these contrasting elements that give it depth. It doesn't fit neatly into any box. It makes you question your own perceptions of the world and the people in it.
And I think it's a film that you experience differently with each viewing. You catch new details, new layers of meaning, new insights into the characters.
Absolutely. It's a testament to Gilliam's skill as a director. He creates this world that's both visually stunning and intellectually stimulating. It makes you question everything you think you know about time, reality, our very existence.
Right. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, the film's commentary on the control of information.
Oh yeah, how could we forget? Especially relevant today with all the misinformation and media manipulation going on. The film shows how easily those in power can use fear and propaganda to silence dissent and control the narrative.
Like the way Cole is dismissed as a madman. They label him insane, basically shutting him down and preventing him from spreading the truth about the virus.
It's a chilling reminder of how easily truth can be twisted and used to serve those in control. It makes you wonder, how do we even know what's true anymore in a world overflowing with information?
It's a question we're all grappling with. We're bombarded with conflicting narratives, everyone claiming to have the truth.
Right. 12 Monkeys pushes us to think critically, question what we're told, and look at things from multiple perspectives. It's about engaging in thoughtful debate, challenging the status quo, and fighting for our right to express ourselves freely.
It's a message that feels even more urgent now than ever before.
Absolutely. But before we move on, let's revisit that central question that hangs over the entire film. Can we actually change the past? Cole's journey is filled with frustration and setbacks. He's always trying to change things, but it's never clear if he's actually making a difference or if he's just playing out a preordained destiny.
Yeah. The film leaves that up to us to decide, doesn't it? It challenges our linear understanding of time. It makes us wonder if the past, present, and future are all connected in ways we don't fully understand.
Right, so even if time is a loop, as the film suggests, does that mean we have no agency? Or can our choices, even small ones, ripple through time and impact the fabric of reality?
That's the beauty of 12 Monkeys. It doesn't give you easy answers. It invites you to wrestle with these complex questions about time, fate, free will, and the impact of our choices.
Exactly. It's a film that stays with you long after you've seen it. It makes you think, question everything, and embrace the mystery of the human experience.
Wow. So 12 Monkeys, huh? It's definitely stuck with me. We've covered so much. Time, truth, the whole sanity versus madness thing. And yet it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Right. There's always more to dig into. And I think it's fitting that we end our deep dive by talking about, well, the ending.
It's an ending that stays with you, that's for sure.
For sure. Ambiguous, unsettling, leave you with more questions than answers.
Yeah, definitely. And without spoiling it, for those who haven't seen it, it all circles back to that image of the airport shooting. But this time, it's different. It feels like Cole has finally found some peace, some resolution to his crazy journey.
Yeah, but there's that underlying sense of tragedy too, right? Like maybe his sacrifice was all for nothing. Like the cycle of destruction will just keep spinning no matter what he does.
And that cyclical nature of time, it's at the core of the film, isn't it? Like he's trapped, destined to repeat the same mistakes, even though he's desperately trying to change things.
The film really makes you wrestle with those big questions. Time, fate, free will. Are we in control of our own destiny, or are we just, pawns in some cosmic game?
I don't know. I think that's something each viewer has to decide for themselves. But the film definitely suggests that our choices can have consequences that reach far beyond what we can imagine.
Absolutely. And that ties into one of the film's most powerful themes, the responsibility we have for our actions, both individually and as a society. You could almost see that virus as a metaphor for what happens when we mess with the natural order, when we prioritize short-term gain over the future.
Yeah, that's a pretty sobering thought. Like, we're all responsible for shaping the future, for better or worse.
Right. 12 Monkeys is a wake-up call. It's like, hey, pay attention to the choices you're making because they have consequences.
It does make you think. But even with all the doom and gloom, there's still a glimmer of hope in the film. That ending, as ambiguous as it is, hints at the possibility of redemption, of breaking free from the cycle of destruction and choosing a different path.
Yeah. And that's where Catherine Rowley is so important. She represents compassion, empathy, that unwavering belief that things can change.
Even when everyone else is telling her she's crazy. She trusts Cole, she sees the good in him, and in a way, she shows us how we should approach the challenges we face, with open hearts, critical minds, and a willingness to believe in something bigger than ourselves.
It's a powerful message, especially in today's world. We need more of that. Compassion, critical thinking, hope.
I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into 12 Monkeys. We've explored its twists and turns, debated its mind-bending themes, and hopefully, sparked some interesting thoughts along the way.
We've traveled through time, questioned reality, and faced the darkness and the light within ourselves.
We've covered a lot of ground, but now it's your turn. What resonated with you most? What questions are you still pondering? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation online using #TheDeepDive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.